Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. Today we're covering a big topic that affects so many trans people, hormone replacement therapy. But right up front, you need to know this episode is also about patience. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the lady that no therapy could replace, Susan Bridges.
Hello.
Our guest this week is Shomari Kirkwood, a television writer who's written for the 4400 and Clean Slate. Over the years, she's worn many hats, having been a member of the fantasy short fiction magazine Podcastle and an apprentice on the award-winning podcast Mother Country Radicals. Born in Kenosha, Wisconsin, she grew up cultivating multiple passions for the arts and writing, as well as the occult, martial arts, and glassblowing. She currently resides in Los Angeles, California, with her loving partner and attention-hungry cat. Welcome, Shomari.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, as a fellow TV writer now, I have to know, what made you want to get into writing for TV specifically?
Ooh, okay. That's a fun one because
Yes.
for me, I've always wanted to write. It's something I was always doing, and I was chasing short fiction magazines when I was in like middle school.
Wow. You started really early.
When I was in like, I think elementary school, like first grade, they were like, oh, what do you want to do? And then I, as a weird little first grader, had said, I want to be one of the few people to get like a Grand Master Award of Science Fiction and Fantasy, but not posthumously. So
I love that.
It was something
So
I
lofty.
Yeah.
Wow.
We should always dream, you know?
We should. Yes. I love that.
And the thing was, like, during middle school, I kind of realized the struggle I feel like every writer faces, which is it's really hard to get people to read sometimes.
Yep.
And I saw people were like really loving art, like visual art that folks did. And so I was like, okay, I already knew I liked cartoons a lot. So I was like, I will learn how to draw. I will then make cartoons, and I will then get people to like essentially hear my writing that way.
Sure.
And I trained myself in art as best I could, got into the Savannah College of Art and Design.
Wow.
Where it was a nice school. And I then quickly realized I did like drawing. I really loved art. I did not love it like some people loved it when it came to doing the work.
Right.
And one summer I took a intro to dramatic writing class, and it was like me and one other guy, because the first day there were 5 of us and then 3 of them just instantly dropped.
You got like a personal instruction.
I really did. It was beautiful, and the professor helped me realize I really loved writing, so I'd lost it over the years. I'd forgotten how much I loved it. And then after that class in the fall, she hounded me for like the entire season to be like, hey, you want to switch your major. Just switch your major. And after a very loving bribe of a fancy VIP pass to the school's like film festival, where I just saw everything, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And then it was a done deal after that.
Yeah, I love that. When it just it gets its claws into you, right? You're like, oh, this is it. I love this so much. Yeah.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
I'd said to a friend once that anyone can write, but if you're going to be a writer, it's almost like you have a fated connection to it. Like you're going to run from it. You're going to try to deny it, but it's not going to really take.
You can't not write. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, I have talked about this on my Discord and on social media a few times, but Clean Slate feels very much like the exact show about a trans woman we need in these times that we're in. And I think it could reach a lot of people and move the needle on trans acceptance. But I have to ask you, how intimidating was it to be writing lines for Laverne Cox? Because she's like a legend, and if I was in your shoes, I'd never stop screaming.
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
it was hard.
yeah, right?
But
I can only imagine.
it was interesting too because I think like I always say this because I really want to make sure it never gets buried, but like Laverne had a really serious voice in making sure the show was authentic, not just on the trans side of things, but to the specificity of who she is as a trans woman in a
Yeah.
way that I think I'm like going to rove a bit before I come back to it. I feel like sometimes in this era we're getting more and more trans art, there's like a little bit of this desire to immediately calcify like what a trans story is and what it looks
Yep.
like.
Right.
And for Laverne, you could really feel in every moment she was in the room or giving notes where she was like, this is the specific trans woman I am. This is the specific experience I'm trying to grasp. And she just didn't want it to feel generic. And she didn't
Sure.
want people to feel like we couldn't do stuff that was funny or silly and just let the character and in turn, I think in a way remind trans people and remind people who aren't trans that trans people are just people. We're silly, we
Yeah.
mess up, have issues like anyone else. We get the hots for a person who's like kind of a coworker, kind of not, and we kind of don't want to be to them, but we sort of are.
Yeah.
Like, and so as much as she's like the legend she is, the fact
Yeah.
that she was so committed to trying to make sure that there's still the person she is also helped bring the scary down a lot. It was great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's amazing, actually. Like, there's these people that seem kind of larger than life, and when you find out that they're just also just humans who want to make good art, and that they really care about these things, it's wonderful. And so
Hmm.
that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too what you said, and it's the thing that Clean Slate does really well is that it so normalizes trans people. Like, we're just humans like cis people. We have flaws and we have good qualities and we have bad qualities, and we can be goofy, we can be serious, and yeah, and I
Hmm.
love that. We need that so much right now. So that's really great that that show is out there.
Yeah.
All right. So for you, what has been the best thing about transitioning?
I think for me, the best thing about transitioning has been feeling like I can be a part of the world. And,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's this thing where when I was growing up, I would do things, but I never really felt present
Yep.
in the world around me. There were certain things I never really did, even though I really craved to do them.
Sure.
I feel this as like a trans woman who's also a lesbian, where like there'd be events, or I'd see like, oh hey, there's this cool lesbian event. It's like I want to go because I knew who I
Yes.
was,
Same.
but
Yes.
it was scary to go. And
Yeah.
then in transitioning, it's like, oh, I can now go to the things I've always wanted to go. I can be with the people who I have that connection with, and
Yeah.
it sort of it brings a joy to living in a way that pre-transition there was kind of a cloud over things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had that a lot too before socially and medically transitioning, where like I knew I was trans, but the world didn't know yet. And you would see these events for queer writers or trans
Hmm.
writers. And I'm like, oh, that's me, but nobody knows. You all just think I'm a cis het guy, right? And so
Yeah,
it was really hard. Sometimes you're like, that's for me, but I can't have it right now. So it's getting to have that now is such a gift. The
yeah.
community that you can find too, that you really couldn't access before. So, yeah.
And then now that we're there, we can. I feel like as more trans women, not just transition socially and medically be out there, but by having some of those memories, we can like build more bridges to the people who are like us pre-transition to be like, no, you can
Yeah.
also be here. And it's you lead a horse to water, and in some ways I remember seeing those flyers where it's like, I know they'd probably be cool, but then the fear is like, would they be cool?
Right.
But being
Yeah.
out there now, it's like that's one thing I try to do a lot is make sure people around me know that like, hey, you too can be here.
Yes, exactly. It's so important. So many
Hmm.
trans women that I saw, trans women writers, helped me believe that I could come out and be the real me and still have a writing career and be happy like they were. And so yeah, it's so vital that visibility.
Well, no one has a writing career right now.
Okay, fair. Oh, you're just bringing the whole show down now, babe. What are you doing?
Ooh, it's hard when there's a good zinger just there. You want to pluck it.
Yeah. And she plucked away.
I did.
Okay. So on the flip side of that, what has been the worst or most difficult part of transitioning for you?
I think the most difficult part has been people treating me differently.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely one of those things where I did not think about myself a lot pre-transition, whether like I looked good or didn't look good.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I just always felt like I was awful.
Yeah.
But then now transitioning, it's like I sometimes am better about thinking about myself, but then the world reminds you they perceive you.
Yeah.
And you have those moments where it's like, oh yeah, because I've in over the course of my transition, I've lost weight and my boobs have grown and all these things. Now there are people who are like treating me much better than they ever treated me. And I'm like, wait a
Mm.
minute, are
Yeah.
you what's this going on? And then it's moments where you're seeing people who maybe used to let you speak more are just cutting you off way
Yep.
more.
Yep. Yeah.
And that one is, ooh, I don't like I being interrupted is one of those things I've always held as like a thing I struggle with. I think it's like the curse of the yapper. You're like, do you know where I'm going with my words? But to be talked over and steamrolled over, and then because you've now transitioned, you're also so much in this category that the worst aspects of society are kind of like, oh, if you argue about how we're now treating you, we're suddenly then going to invalidate everything about your transition, about who you are.
Yeah.
And that's just like kind of the rough part too, where as a Black trans woman, it's like Black, trans, and a woman. If I get mad, it's suddenly like
Yeah.
it's a whole
They're gonna make such a
thing.
huge deal out of it, right?
Right. And then all you've done is try to just assert boundaries or asking people to
Right.
respect you. And that's been a tough one. It's still a tough one, but it's also something where like in a way there's always these categories we're moving and shifting between that cause
Yeah.
people to change how they treat us. Like I feel like as I when I get older, it will be like now I'm an old woman who's a trans woman. And
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
that whole new thing. So it's been difficult, but it's something I'm kind of rolling with and trying to make peace with, even though I don't love all of it.
Sure, sure.
You know.
Yeah. The week that I came out, I was on a Zoom with a guy who never talked over me, and he talked over me and repeated what I said as if it was his idea. And it was the first week, and I'm like, well, at least he sees me as a woman, right? Like it's euphoria. It's like, yeah, okay,
Oh
well, you
yeah.
see me as a woman, but you're not you're being a bit misogynistic about that, pal.
Oh yeah. I need to use euphoria somewhere because that's so real. When
Yeah.
that same VIP thing at the film festival I told you about earlier, I remember
Yeah.
coming home from a party where there was a bunch of directors and stuff, and I was in like a dress and heels, and I felt so good. And I'm walking home, and a car drove by, and someone like catcalled me, and it was
Oh,
that
yep.
euphoria of,
Euphoria,
oh,
yeah.
gross, I don't want to be catcalled, and then the brain went, honey,
But
they saw me as a woman.
yeah, yeah.
It
It's
is,
uh
ugh,
it's a rough place to exist in. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
All right, before we dive into this week's topic, do you want to let folks know where they can find you online after listening?
Yes, folks can find me online on Blue Sky at mixobron.bluesky.bsky.social. How are you ever supposed to pronounce that thing? It's so long. The Blue
Yeah.
Sky handle. But
I think
yeah,
it's I think it's bsky.
yeah.
.bsky .social. Yeah.
.bsky.social. And I'm just there rambling about everything from books to television to talking about little projects and the world
Yeah, but
around
it's
me.
great.
It's
I
great.
love your posts.
Thank you. I'm
Of
glad someone
course.
does. I love yours.
Aw, you're so sweet. Okay, so to be sure we're all on the same page right from the start, let me just state you do not have to be on or even want hormone replacement therapy, better known as HRT, to be trans. It is a huge part of medical transition for those of us who want and need it, but not every trans person does. And not wanting HRT or medical transition is not what makes you trans. How you feel on the inside that makes you trans. But for those of us like me, for whom it's a huge part of our transition, what is it like? Well, the difficulty in answering that is that hormones affect literally every body differently. Some of us can be on the exact same dose with the exact same delivery method and have wildly different results. It's often a game of trial and error and finding what combo of things gives us what we need. There are things hormones can do and might do and won't do, but not everyone's experience is the same. So please, please keep that in mind. I don't want you going to another trans person who says they were affected differently or coming to me and saying, but Jane said X. Hormones are just wonky like that because human bodies are fun. Also, as I am not an endocrinologist or doctor of any kind, I cannot give you the kind of information that they can. For example, there are medical reasons why some people can't be on HRT, but I don't know what all of those reasons might be. I just want you to understand how unique this is to every trans person. We all have our own experiences with it, and we're all on our own journeys, okay? Okay. While trans HRT sends a human body through a second puberty, it does not undo the effects of the first wrong puberty. But physically and emotionally, it absolutely sends you through another one. Okay, so Shomari, let me ask, what has second puberty been like for you? Did you expect it? Did it completely throw you for a loop?
I expected it because I'd always seen people talk about it like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how intense puberty is in that way.
Yeah.
I think my first puberty was so blunted by it just feeling wrong that when the second one hit, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm crying so much. I'm peeing all the time. Why is this happening? And then it was also this feeling of like, some people talk about like feeling like their sexuality changes when they go through it. For me, it was a lot of feeling like the dynamics of my sexuality changed. In a context of where I got to feel like more in touch with the fullness of what being a woman felt like for me versus trying to be very, very performing still some of the roles and expectations some people put on me when it came to dating and such. I feel like there's a lot of times where, as a trans woman, even with dating other women, where they'll be like, you're still kind of this, and they kind of treat you in that category. And as my transition went on and that second puberty hit, it was like, no, I can't do any of that stuff anymore. I cannot. And that was definitely one of the big ones, feeling very freeing in that way. But also like me having to rework out, like, what does dating look like? What does all of this stuff mean? Because all my wires are different and all the stimuli has changed.
It's wild that, I've always been attracted to women and that didn't change, but the way I feel my attraction to women is completely different than how it was before.
Exactly.
It's I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like I'm attracted to women as the woman that I am, whereas before I couldn't access that, and so it was very performative and weird and awkward, and I don't know. It's absolutely wild, but it's
can confirm you were a mess.
Oh, thank you. You're just here to okay. I see. You're just gonna toss out zingers through this whole episode. Okay, thank you.
Wild, What
do you mean?
The crying all the time and the mood swings.
At first,
every so often I'd be like, you're being weird, and you'd be like, no, I'm not, and I'm like, okay. We're just gonna wait this out.
All right, fine. It's also, I think there's something too, like what you said, that the first puberty that you go through, like I was so horrified by it, what was happening to my body. It was so wrong and I hated it. And also because of all the dysphoria that I had, I wasn't very as self-aware as I am now. And so now I'm noticing everything and feeling everything. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? You know, before you just kind of would gloss over it. It was all muted and weird and bad. So yeah, it's a completely different experience.
It's like going from hearing something on a busted speaker to suddenly having the really fancy sound system, and you're
Yeah,
like,
kind of.
wow, there's notes to life I did not process.
Yeah, I didn't know that was in there all along. Okay, well, HRT consists of two main portions, usually one medication to block the testosterone or estrogen that your body produces, and one medication to introduce the other one into your system. Not everyone is on both for medical or personal or other reasons. A testosterone blocker in an adult trans woman suppresses said hormone in the body. This can lead to slower growing and or thinner and or less body hair growth. There's an essay all about that at tilliestrans2stays.com, but it will be getting a podcast episode soon. And it can even halt or slow male pattern baldness and sometimes even cause minor breast growth. Reducing testosterone in AMAB assigned male at birth folks can also lead to a decrease in muscle mass, more on this in a bit, a shrinking of the penis and testicles, and infertility. Though there have been a couple studies that indicate fertility may return if T blockers are stopped, but that hasn't really been confirmed yet. More on the dangers of a lack of medical studies done on trans HRT in a bit. And the problem with testosterone for we trans ladies who transition as adults is once you go through testosterone-induced puberty, you can't undo most of those changes. The voice deepens, the shoulders broaden, the jaw becomes more defined, facial hair starts growing, you get taller. There are some things we can do to try and change or mitigate these things, but not all of them. There is no way to make your shoulders less broad. You can't not be as tall as you are. Mostly, again, more on this in a bit. I went through 3 years of gender-affirming voice therapy to help me sound less like a cis man and more like me. See the 3-part series on trans voices in episodes 45 to 47 of this show. It was a ton of hard work I put in on trying to change the way I talk and how I sound. And if you are a cis woman listening, imagine how you would feel if your body did those things and how much it would feel like your body betrayed you and made the world see you as someone you're not. And the horror of not being able to stop it as your body keeps making those changes. Really think about how that would make you feel. Watching facial hair and body hair grow, seeing your jaw and shoulders widen, hearing your voice deepen. Congratulations, you just got the tiniest experience of gender dysphoria, which we talked about in episode 59 of this very podcast. But now imagine that all day long for every day of your life, and you will instantly see why getting trans kids on perfectly safe and reversible puberty blockers before that happens is vital and life-saving. See Trans Kids and the Intake Exam at tilliestrans2stays.com for more.
Oh yeah, just in talking about facial hair, I was just struck by, I feel like one of the really hard parts sometimes with that first puberty when you don't want it is how so many people will just give you compliments sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's the worst feeling of being seen. Like growing up, my father would always be like, "Oh, why are you always shaving? Like, I wish I could grow a beard and mustache like you." And I'm just like, nope, this is so wrong and so bad. And it's sometimes just so difficult to get people to have that sympathy for you, because from their eyes, which, you know, until you maybe come out and tell them, they don't realize that you don't want all of this.
Yeah.
They struggle because they're just like, but this is good stuff. You should be wanting this. What's going on? And that first puberty sucks.
It was really bad. It was so bad. Like every day for years, it was just a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so little. Like I really want people to understand. Like there's so little you can do without medical intervention sometimes in that first puberty. Like the most I was able to do is, I think I protected my voice a lot. It was one of those issues between me and my dad where my dad would always be like, "You should be putting bass in your voice." And I was so conscientious of my voice that I was like, "Oh no,
Sure.
I'm going to do no bass. I'm going to really like just let any deeper lower register atrophy to the best of my ability."
Yeah.
And that sense of atrophy sometimes persisted in so much of it where you're trying to fight your body betraying you, and there's certain things that
Yeah.
it just happens.
Yeah. I wish I had had the foresight that you did to try to not let my voice deepen so much, because it was so much work to change it. But yeah. All right. So what happens for trans ladies when estrogen is introduced into our bodies? Well, it can also slow and thin body and facial hair growth, and it definitely promotes breast growth, but how much varies wildly. But it also shifts the way your body carries fat. Did you know cis men and women carry fat in different places in their bodies? Science, bitches! So when a trans lady goes on estrogen, it will shift where fat gets stored and carried under the skin, which can lead to a softer, rounder appearance. This includes a softening of the skin and facial features and a softening or rounding of the hips and butt, if we're lucky. You can see in my 4-year retrospective timeline photo at TillysTransTuesdays.com that not only did HRT give me a whole new face, it changed my eye color. Many trans people report that happening, but as far as I know, there have been no studies done on why or how that happens. But there is a study that mentions that there are estrogen receptors in the eyes, so it's not nonsense. See the link in the show notes. But guess what? You also get emotional changes because hormones and puberty are fun. The emotional and mood changes also definitely vary from person to person. If someone is getting an injection once a week, the day they take it, their body is getting a flood of hormones. And if your dose isn't high enough to maintain a constant level, the last day or two before an injection can be awful, filled with mood swings and hot flashes. Ask me how I know. I did not at all expect the mental changes that would come with HRT. The calm, the peace, the feeling of wholeness and fullness and of being me that would come with being on the right hormone for my body. Night and day doesn't even begin to describe the difference. It's like my body went from absolute zero to the surface of the sun, complementary. And in fact, this was illustrated all too clearly to me when I lost the mental changes HRT had given me. I was initially on estrogen pills, but a couple years into medical transition, they stopped working for me entirely. My estrogen levels plummeted. I was getting almost nothing from them. My testosterone rose because estrogen and testosterone fight each other in the body. When one rises, the other usually falls. And life became awful again. I talked about this in detail in episode 28 on transition setbacks.
I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I get you. I feel like something about HRT that's so important is to go back to what you had said way near the beginning.
Yeah.
Is you're really fiddling a lot with it to make sure things are right. Like I was on patches for a long time because I have a fear of needles.
Sure.
And after being on HRT for maybe 3-4 years and my development being really not anywhere similar to other trans women's, I eventually landed with a doctor who was like, let's just try pills. Let's just see how that is. And I was like, okay. And it was like second period 2 electric boogaloo, but like because the pills were just my body was absorbing way more from the pills than they ever were the patches, and suddenly my development shot forward. So what I thought was, okay, here's just what my body is, I suppose, has become a whole new journey of, oh no, my body is actually still changing, still capable of other things. And I feel like that's one of those things where we as trans folks have to make sure that we are able to be so vocal about when we feel like things are working or are not working. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
As much as I'm not a doctor, I'm in my body. I'm the only passenger here. And you have to trust when things feel off and try to advocate for yourself, because in the same way that I sometimes think about, oh, that first puberty didn't really go so well, I sometimes think about, oh, if I had maybe felt like more confident to advocate and say, I feel like things are not going with my transition the way I wanted to. Maybe those earlier transition years could have been better or different. And
that's really important, because my doctor did not seem to care that my estrogen levels fell, that my testosterone was rising, that the pills were not working for me. And I didn't get changed until I said, this is not working. I feel awful. I don't feel like myself. I need to switch my delivery method. Let's try injections. And once I did, I felt so much better. And I saw a bunch, I sprang forward in development with like breast growth and all kinds of things. So it made a huge difference. And we have to advocate for ourselves, especially since most of our doctors are cis. And, well, there's a little bit more on them coming up in a minute, but
Yeah.
yeah. But what losing the pills when they stopped working for me, what that taught me was how much I really need my HRT. Even if I never get another physical benefit from it, the emotional gains and stability it provides me are so much of what keeps my dysphoria at bay. And without it, it felt like my very identity was being stripped away from me. My personality, my thoughts, my feelings, my everything. Not being on HRT is not an option. Okay, so let's talk more about those physical changes from estrogen. Some trans ladies have noticed that after being on HRT for a long time, their feet are a little smaller. Maybe they're not quite as tall. Again, it shifts everything in your body, but not the same way for everyone. I lost half a shoe size pretty early into HRT, and that stayed consistent. But also, I lost 1.5 inches in height. A lot of trans women report this happening, possibly just from tendons and muscles shifting or loss of muscle mass, or who knows. But I'm a little salty about it. I liked being 6'2", alas.
Oh yeah. I lost, I think, a shoe size and a half.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. No, I used to be like 10 and a half, 11, and now
Yeah.
it's like more 9.5. And it's just like, oh my gosh, what the what the heck?
Yeah.
This is one of those things that I feel like when it comes to those body changes, you also have to just be ready that you might have one part of your transition where you're like, okay, I've replaced my wardrobe, I've done it, and then
Yeah.
changes keep happening, and you're like, well, time to
Time to do
replace
it
some
again.
more.
Yeah. Have you lost any height? Have you noticed?
I think I might have. I have admittedly always been pretty short. Like I capped out at like 5'5".
Okay.
So I think last time I was measured, I was maybe 5'4". So I didn't really
Okay.
lose a lot of height, but I also have just been constantly short my entire life. So
Sure. Well, also, my hips have rotated. It hurt like hell when it was happening slowly over many months, and it's something that happens to cis women when they go through puberty too. And I have evidence because the measurement across my hips has not changed, but I cannot pull some skirts over my hips like I used to be able to, which is how I figured this out. I talked about that again in my 4-year retrospective in episode 75 of this here program. I've also finally seen some butt growth, see that 4-year retrospective, and a lot more breast growth, and that's all from switching my estrogen from pills to injections, and also due to taking my progesterone, which is another hormone I take sublingually, which basically no doctor will tell you to do, but other trans ladies sure will. Listen to episode 20 on Anecdotal Trans Healthcare for more. It tastes really bad, though. Also, let me tell you, growing boobs hurts like a mother ducker. I know a lot of cis ladies complain about bras, but frankly, they were vital for me because they'd act like a shield to protect my boobs from being touched by anything. Getting dressed in my hand-brushed one, agony. Rolling over in bed was a nightmare because I'm a side sleeper, so as soon as the side of a boob hit the mattress, I'd nearly scream in pain. And it means they're growing, so yay, but the pain. And again, not every trans woman gets the same results, just like cis ladies when they go through puberty. And also, there's no time frame for when it all happens. I saw decent breast growth in a matter of months, if not a ton, but some ladies take years. It took me 1,000 days of HRT, mostly with estrogen and progesterone pills, to get to a B cup bra, but then only a few months from there to get to a C cup with estrogen injections and sublingual progesterone. One trans lady I know had B cups for 10 years, and then suddenly they grew to D cups. Why must
whoa.
bodies be this way? It seems inefficient.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm the years for breast growth. I
Yeah.
had very not full breasts for most of my transition. And then in the past, I think I'm coming on 2 years now of having switched to pills and everything.
Yeah.
My breast growth just exploded. They became so much fuller. And I knew the minute I went downstairs too fast and was not wearing a bra, and they just slapped, and I was like, oh, and
You
I had
scream.
to,
Oh,
oh yeah, I had
yeah.
to I went straight back to my apartment and like, come on, where's this bra? I knew I had it. Like because I just hadn't had enough there until that moment to
Yeah.
feel like I
Yeah.
needed to wear a bra.
Yeah. There's also that thing where, like, if you bend over, it feels like gravity is trying to tear them off your chest. It
Oh
hurts so
yeah.
bad when they're growing. Oh my God.
I've had to change my writing posture because of it.
Really?
Yes, I'm used to very like straight. I kind of like this now currently, but very straight back, and I could just like write for ages. Maybe I slightly lean, but
Yeah.
the minute my breast growth had developed so much more, even just that slight lean for the length of a writing session, it just the
Yeah.
gravity's pulling and
The
pulling,
gravity.
and I would stand up and I'm like, why is my lower back muscles like hurting? Why are they so engaged?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, boobs.
The boobs. We love them, but gosh, they come with complications.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that loss of muscle mass definitely happened, so let's talk about that. I'm still kind of buff in my own estimation, and I love my biceps, but I have to work harder now than I did before to keep them looking the same. In fact, I have to work twice as hard to see the same results I did before HRT. And all my exercising was one of the first things I did to transition before I could medically or socially transition. Go all the way back and listen to episode 9 on body hacking for more. Jars that I never once struggled to open before now give me fits.
I can't open jars.
Jars, no, it's the translating thing. We can no longer open jars. It's impossible.
I would say like just to get like deep on muscles for a bit, because I used to
Yeah.
also kind of be an athlete doing lots of martial arts. The thing I know I would describe about for at least me when transitioning has been like sudden explosive strength has just kind of gone away. Like
Oh, yeah.
which so much of opening a jar is just the like, like it's just like
Yeah, the
you know,
torque. The torque.
and then it's just off. But
It's
for
gone.
me, it's now like, no, I can't really do that. But I did find I do not really exercise a lot these days. I don't really work hard to keep definition up, but very slow, constant, steady strength. I largely retained. Like when I had first moved to LA, I was like, I need to get a TV, and I got a big TV, and I realized I am by myself and I have small arms. How am I going to
Yeah.
put this up? But and so did I struggle with the TV for like 25, 30 minutes? I did, but I never dropped it. I could
Yeah.
still lift it, and it's quite heavy, and I could get it up there. And then afterwards, I'm like, great. And I went to the fridge to open a new jar of chili, like chili oil, and I couldn't do it. And I was just like, what? And so there really does become this difference of like what things I still can do, what things I can't do as much the same. And those I feel like that's one of those things where bodies are fun
Yeah,
and
right.
they have
Yeah.
weird little things about how they're built.
Yeah. I think I saw somebody that described it, and it was like the best way I'd seen it so far. It's like taking a hatchback car engine and putting it in a semi truck. Like that's what HRT does to trans women, because like, we have these larger, wider bodies, but the HRT changes the way the energy you have, your muscle mass. And so you've got this tiny little engine and this big body, and it's like they don't match and you just don't have it. I just can't do some of the physical things I could before, even with my pretty biceps. And they are indeed pretty, I assure you. See that for your retrospective and peep them for yourself. But as to my body changing the way it stores fat, I've definitely noticed that too. There's a spot in my lower abdomen below my stomach that has been flat as a wall my entire life. But on cis ladies, it's often like softer and rounded there. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I've got that. And having a face that looks like me is the biggest hit of gender euphoria ever. See the essay on that at TillyTransTuesdays.com. And cis folks, that is something you can and likely do experience. So do check out that essay. It is the most amazing feeling ever. And one of the earliest changes I experienced from HRT was my smell. I just smell like a girl now, and did as of a few months in, and that was absolutely wild. It also cratered my libido for a while, but adding progesterone into my HRT definitely brought that back.
Yep, progesterone will. There's two things I felt it do for me. It was make me sometimes sleepy, and also
Yeah.
bring back libido, but like strange. I very much realized from going on HRT that like I lost most of my libido, but then it kind of comes in like a cycle weirdly now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay. The sun is in Aries and the moon is blue. It's back. It's time.
Yeah, I've never slept better in my life than I have on progesterone. But also I get, those wild progesterone dreams. Do you get those?
Oh, no, I don't get progesterone dreams, but I do get like progesterone like dialogue weird, like so to speak. Like, okay, it's sort of like before I'm so sleepy, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like the libido is high, the brain is like a little bit halfway dreamy, and so then I'm just like saying things in this strange organization, and my friends and my partners will just be like, will kind of sometimes tease me about it because I'll just say wild stuff.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I'm then out and I'm asleep. And they're like, okay.
Okay, so your progesterone dreams just hit before you're fully asleep. That's all.
Yeah.
It's the same wild nonsense. Yeah.
It's so wild. And as far as like fat distribution goes,
Yeah.
one thing I do feel is like, I saw it said by this one trans woman on TikTok where she was like, you gotta eat. Because it really is.
Oh, yeah.
It really is a redistribution. Like, everyone's body is different for sure, but like, I feel like sometimes when we talk about it, we hear redistribution and then we think, oh, so it's just gonna like move it all around. And it's like, a little bit, but like a lot of it's the new fat. Like
the new fat goes to the new
settles.
places. Yeah.
And I know for both myself and for some trans women I know, we had like different relationships to food and eating because of how like it impacted our bodies. But it's like when you're on HRT, one of those things is like I felt, and this is where the second puberty kind of comes in, much like you probably did when you were a teen and you were eating way more and your parents were like, whoa, what is my food budget? Being on HRT, especially in that initial burst, it was like, oh, I do need to actually make sure I am eating and giving my body all of the things it needs to carry out these functions.
Yeah.
And it's the other critical part that is necessary. There's so many things that can impact HRT's efficacy, and one of those is just like, are you sleeping? Are you drinking water? Are you eating?
Yeah.
3 very simple but very key things for getting stuff moving. And I can definitely say I have not always been good about some of those things.
Yeah, I've noticed too that there are days every once in a while where I get so ravenously hungry, it feels like no matter how much I eat, I'm still hungry. And I've noticed a correlation that when that happens, it's when my boobs are growing again. And it's like your body is just like, give me the calories, give me protein, give me fat. We need this. We're working here. We need the raw materials, So yeah, it's important to give it those materials.
For sure. I wish those materials went to places other than just my boobs.
Me too.
I want hips so badly.
Yeah.
I don't really have them, but I inherited my mom's like really large like breast size, and it's just like, okay, I'll take this, I suppose.
Yeah. I've got the tiniest little hips, but that's just from the rotation. I still haven't really like grown any, and I am a little salty about it. Well, let me quickly note that for people on masculinizing HRT, the effects they might see are the opposite of what I've described for feminizing HRT. They will see body hair and facial hair growth, a deepening of the voice, facial and body fat redistribution, the opposite of the way trans femme folks like me experience it, increased muscle mass, change in body odor, possible hairline recession, and an increased libido. But as far as the changes from my HRT go, I want more. I want so much more. Yes, good. Keep going, body. But there's literally nothing I can do to speed it along. And that's where patience comes in, because HRT isn't a switch you flip. It is a process, and it's slow as hell. And it's just going to do what it's going to do and at its own pace. And you have no idea what you're going to get or when you'll get it. You have to live with getting incrementally closer to your goal, hopefully day by day. You can see it starting. You can see it getting closer, almost agonizingly close after spending so long being so far away. All you want to do is sprint to the finish line, but you can't, even if you wanted to. You're stuck crawling like a snail. There is no magical shortcut. We're trapped in bodies that we're forced to change against our will. Episode 95 on Trans Trauma 2, Societal Gaslighting has lots more on that. And changing them into one that is one we feel at home in can be a painfully slow process. Okay, so how has the weight been for you, Shomari? Is it agonizing?
The weight
Yeah.
The weight hasn't been as agonizing because
Really?
a little, yes. I think a little bit's because the beginning of my transition was so flawed. But but in the course of that, because I'd been in it for so long,
Yeah.
very much I started to make my peace with like, okay, here's what I got, like here's the hand I've been dealt. And I can feel sad about how I don't look like, I don't know, some like anime girl supermodel or something, but I can also feel happy about getting to be the me that I am, being with people who see that, and like
Yeah.
the fact that little Shomari just would have hoped to have any boobs, let alone getting really like picky about them. And I think because I made that peace to a degree, and I say peace, that does not mean I want listeners to know that didn't mean I didn't have moments where I wasn't crying or wasn't sad, because I did. But the general peace of like, on the macro level of like, okay, this is what it is. So then when it changed, it was kind of like this big dose of, wait, I still got a chance. Like, and so now I'm still kind of in that area of,
Sure.
okay, I have a second burst, a new wind. Let's see what's happening. But recently, I think I had a moment that just I never thought would happen. I had done a talk in Atlanta a while ago for Clean Slate because we were there for a TV festival. And apparently, one of my mom's coworkers had watched the talk or something, or saw it post on Facebook. And so she came to my mom, showed her the photo and like some of the video of me, and I did not really think my mom was ever going to see it. I don't really share things often. I'm very like private and forgetful.
Sure.
But I get a call like a few days later after the event where she just said, I was so stunned because you looked just like me. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Whoa. Dang. It was like I was speechless, because I don't know if there's a better, for me at least, I don't know if there's a better thing to hear that's so validating than my mother saying I look just like her.
Yeah.
Because we'd always been close, but then now here's this thing of like, she no longer cannot see me as a woman, because she now sees herself. And that's like interesting. So it's like, okay, after whatever else, this is me. And if I get anything extra, that's really nice. But my mom sees herself in me, and I'll take that. I'm seen. What else
love
could I
that.
want?
That's so sweet.
I want to add something.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So, hey, cis people who are listening to this, if you ever thought for a minute that people are being transed out there and not realizing this is a long, complicated process,
Yeah.
you're not going to just convince some kid that they want to do this because their friends are trans.
And it's going to happen over, their time at school in one day.
I'm hoping y'all are starting to realize how absolutely bonkers illiterate you have to be to think this is real. Possible. And doctors are lining up to get money from trans people to take hormones that have been around for literal decades.
Hold on, because I'm just about to talk about that.
Yes.
The weight, for those of us that it is very difficult for, is made even worse by there being so few medical studies done on trans people, much less run by trans people. And this is because we are such a small percentage of the population that we are not, I don't know, quote unquote, medically lucrative enough, I guess, for a lot of studies to be done on us. So there's a whole lot we just don't know, and a lot of doctors operating on 30-year-old information. And that can lead to problems like a lot of endocrinologists wanting to keep trans women's estrogen levels artificially low, based on dangers that occurred with high levels of estrogen from old forms of HRT that are no longer used. It is not profitable or pressing enough for a lot of them to stay up to date on things because they treat so few trans patients comparatively to their cis patients. But when you look at modern data or let trans doctors lead the way, they often argue that trans women's estrogen levels are absolutely fine anywhere in the normal cis feminine range. And these guidelines are mostly all set in the US based on WPATH, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health Standards, and also guidelines of the Endocrine Society. Those standards are occasionally revised, but they are still mostly set by cis people and also have terribly transphobic origins. Check out Transmedicalism and WPATH version 1 in episode 60 of this show for more.
Can I say something? Like,
yes, you can and should.
This for the cis people out there. I really need to like impress on them. Like, think about how often you hear about cis women talking about how few studies there are that center and focus on them and are for their medicine. Such a much bigger population than specifically trans people.
Yeah.
And when you realize like how few studies actually just care about even just cis women as a broad category, half the entire human population.
Right.
I need cis folks to understand that the scale at which trans people are means we have so few that there is a lot of trans HRT folklore and like craft wisdom about like how to do things and what's going on, because for a long time and even still today, so few people are going to be as invested in your transition going well for you than other trans people.
Right.
And it's a struggle. You know, like if I had more trans people in my life earlier in my transition, I would have realized how low, like disgustingly low my levels were.
Same,
But my doctor at the time was like, well, this works. This is good because you're not wanting to do injections. And I believe pills are super dangerous because of old studies. I'm just going to keep you here. And it's like, okay, we could have done other things.
Yeah, there's even, like, I think I've mentioned this before, but my endocrinologist, the first one that I had, I'm on my third one now. When I wanted to start progesterone, he put me on the old, really dangerous progesterone, like really dangerous, so much so that a lot of endocrinologists will not even prescribe it anymore because the side effect dangers are so high. And I did not know at the time that there were two kinds of progesterone, that the one he put me on, the old one, is a synthetic and it came with all these risky side effects. He never mentioned them. He didn't talk about how dangerous it was. He had no idea. And I learned this like 6 months in from other trans people. And I was like, holy shit, what the hell? And then I had to go to him and tell him to change which one he had me on and put me on the micronized progesterone that is way, way, way safer and also got me way better results. So it is absolutely wild. We have to advocate for ourselves and learn from each other.
And this is why the conspiracy that there are people just getting trans is like so ridiculous. It's like, if doctors cared that much, we'd have magical things.
We would be so happy, but they do not. I assure you, they do not.
They do not.
As one example, the trans clinic at UCSF recommends a dose of up to 20 milligrams of estradiol valerate for trans women on injections, but WPATH maxes out at half of that. There is a link in the show notes. And in fact, the UCSF guidelines state that for trans women, quote, maintaining estrogen levels in the physiologic range for menstruating non-transgender women minimizes risks and side effects and makes sense clinically. Multiple studies have shown that for cis women going through puberty and for adult cis women, their normal estrogen levels can range up to 300 pg per milliliter. That's picograms per milliliter. There's another link in the show notes about this. But many endocrinologists, a few of my past ones included, pitch a fit when you go over 200. Why? Because with older, more dangerous forms of HRT, going over 200 was exceptionally risky. It is not anymore. But most of them want to stick to what WPATH and the Endocrine Society have as guidelines. When you look at trans doctor-led healthcare like Folks Health, they say, quote, we typically are looking for levels in a range from 50 to 500 pg per milliliter. We think people using gender-affirming hormone therapy may need and deserve wider ranges than their cisgender peers. The typical estradiol range for cis women is 100 to 300 pg per milliliter. We use a broader range for gender-affirming hormone therapy. Again, link in the show notes. So in addition to sometimes having to even fight to access HRT if we're not in a location with informed consent, where you can say, I understand and consent to this medication, and we have to prove we are who we say we are just to get a cis doctor to agree to put us on HRT, again, see the Trans Kids and Intake Exam essay at TillysTransTuesdays.com. We often have to fight with our doctors about not keeping our estrogen levels artificially low. Yes? You raised your hand. You have a question?
I just want to add that in these horrendous times that we are in,
Yeah.
all these horrible laws are being passed to attack trans people and including trans kids.
Yes.
I just want to make sure every cis person out there knows that care for trans kids, which includes puberty blockers,
It can, yes.
social transition,
Right.
hormones when in older teenagers,
Right.
and also sometimes surgical interventions, depending.
Rarely.
Actually,
cis boys get gender-affirming surgeries more than any trans kids with breast reductions.
And cis girls get breast enhancement.
They sure do.
As graduation gifts.
Because both of those things conform to the cis binary.
Yep.
Anyway, go on.
There is no major medical organization that says we should not do these things.
They all say we should, in fact.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every single one.
In the U.S., yeah.
In the U.S. agrees that this is necessary healthcare.
Yeah. And that this is a safe way to do it.
Despite what you have seen all over the place with people making wild claims about how you shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
It is not true.
Yeah. And let me remind you that every drug used in hormone replacement therapy was developed for cis people, for cis men dealing with hair loss, for cis women going through menopause, and more. That they're used to great effect for trans people is wonderful, but it is not why they were designed to exist. And this isn't remotely the only medical stuff that cis people get, which trans people use too. Please listen to Cis People Get Gender-Affirming Healthcare Too in episode 22 to learn all about the myriad other things tons of cis people do and are fine with, but then suddenly balk when trans people want gender-affirming care too. Don't be a hypocrite. Every trans and non-binary person does what we can to try to feel more like our real selves. For many of us, that involves HRT, and we do it because we must, because it's better than the alternative. Every out trans person you meet decided climbing this almost insurmountable hurdle was better than the pain we were living through before. It is a slog and it's tough going, especially if you're on HRT, but the rewards are worth it, and if we're lucky, gender euphoria waits on the other side. Thanks for being here, Shomari.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
And for the trans people that aren't out yet, or can't be, that want HRT but can't access it yet, I know how tough it is, but you can do it. I did, and you can too. Don't give up. Hold on. Whenever you're ready, we'll be here to help you along. Tilly Bridges, end transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. The written essay version of this week's topic and all past topics is available at TillysTransTuesdays.com. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Blue Sky and on Mastodon at tillybridges at mastodon.social, and you can find Susan on those at Susan L. Bridges. You can find Jillian at Audio Jillian on Blue Sky. You can join the Tillyverse Discord server by following the link at the very bottom of TillysTransTuesdays.com. We hold regular watch parties for the Matrix films and other trans movies where I do a live Q&A, and it's blossomed into a wonderfully supportive, compassionate, kind community of friends. We'd love to have you join us. If you'd like to keep up with all the writing that Susan and I do, you can sign up for our newsletter at birdguestbroadcast.com. If you enjoy this show, please take a moment to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. The largest segment of our listeners find the show there, and more reviews equals a higher profile, which means it will reach more of the people who need it. Thank you for your support. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.
Sorry.
Bless you.
I messed up the recording.